More of my exclusive interview with two of the great performers and activists of our time. For both Billie Jean King and Elton John, the fight for gay rights and equal rights began at home, and it wasn't easy. In 1981, Billie Jean was publicly and painfully outed, seated beside her then-husband Larry King and watched by her parents, and against the advice of all her publicists and advisors, she faced the music head-on.
I did have an affair with Marilyn Barnett. It's been over for quite some time. Any human being can put themselves in my shoes and try to imagine what I have been through the last few days. But more importantly, I worried about what my loved ones are going to go through too.
And the minute she made that admission, she lost all her lucrative endorsements and she was embroiled in a bitter palimony suit and then a painful divorce. That's not how you would have chosen to announce your sexuality. Would you ever have done, was it in a way kind of a relief that it happened like that?
In the beginning it wasn't a relief, but over time it was, because the way my parents taught me and the way I was brought up is that my mother always said, to thine own self be true, part of Shakespeare's stuff. And that's really what kept ringing home in my head. And I thought, well, if I'm really going to be true to myself, then I need to do this. But I was outed. I wasn't ready. I think you know when you're ready. That's why I wouldn't out somebody. But things were very different in the early 80s and the 70s than they are now. But it was it was difficult because I was still married to Larry. He didn't want a divorce. I'd started seeing Lana by then. I was a mess.
You grew up in the 50s in England. It wasn't exactly a bastion of sort of progressive thought.
I didn't know anyone who was gay in my family or anything. I didn't know until I worked with a gay singer called Long John Baldry that there might be homosexuals in the world. And I didn't really do anything about it until 23 when I first had sex. I mean, in the 50s, you didn't talk about sex. It was a different society. It was a deeply conservative. I'm very glad I grew up when I grew up, because I grew up with radio and, we're getting our first refrigerator, television, everything. It was brilliant. It was so exciting. But I think the 50s were a horrible decade to live in. Everyone, the Tea Party seemed to want to go back to those days, and they can have them, because they are the worst, secretive, manipulative, horrible days where people just was too frightened and were pointing fingers. Horrible time to live in. But people just living secret lives.
Well, you couldn't be your authentic self.
You couldn't be yourself.
In the United States, 16 states now approve gay marriage.
Right.
Did you ever imagine that you would see this when you were first having sex in San Francisco at 23?
No. I mean, when David and I were allowed to have a civil partnership in 2005, when Tony Blair was the Prime Minister, and we got our civil partnership on the first day possible because we were so, we said, we've got to do this. It's an incredible shift in the way society thinks. And now next year you can legally get married in church if you want to, thanks to David Cameron, the Prime Minister.
Will you get married, Elton?
Oh yeah, our first day possible. Yeah,
Do you want David?
Listen, David and I are a very high-profile gay couple, probably the most high-profile gay couple in the world. You have to set an example. If you say, listen, guys, this is our rights. Can you imagine 20 years ago? We'd have never thought this possible. We celebrate.
Billie Jean, you and Ilana are a very high-profile gay couple. You've been with Ilana more than 30 years.
Yes.
She's your partner in life and very top level in your business.
Yeah.
Are you going to get married?
I don't know. But we do discuss it. And of course, Elton's saying, if you get married, I'll come and celebrate. I'll come and play.
She's skillfully avoiding the question.
It made a hell of a
No, it's probably my problem, because my challenge is because of what I went through with the palimony in Maryland, and then obviously Larry. It was a long, horrible experience over many years, and I still think there's residual effects from that. I mean, Ilana unfortunately has to, I'm the problem, not Ilana.
The world's changing.
Yes, finally.
But of course not in other parts of the world. You are about to go to Russia.
Yes.
December. And obviously we know, and we've reported on our program a lot about the anti-propaganda law that's meant to not let people talk about being gay.
No.
So what do you do then as a high-profile gay performer in a civil union about to get married, and you go to Russia? Are you going to tell them to stick it? Are you going to lobby from the stage? What happens?
I'm going to go. I've been going there since 1979, and I have had great times in Russia. What's happening there is so awful. But I've been asked to go. People from the LGBT community over there said, please come. I don't want to abandon them. I mean, if you don't go, you know, you're saying stick it. You know, it's
you
have to go. You don't prove anything by not doing something. Everything is about chipping away. That's the way you have to approach it. I'm not going to go over and say bloody Putin this, bloody Putin that, and they're just going to throw me out. I'm just a bloody rock star, and they're going to pay me no credence whatsoever. What I'm going to do is meet with the LGBT community, see how I can help them, see what I can do for them. I'm going to say something from the stage that's going to be meaningful. But I'm not going to go there and swaggering about because I don't have, you know, I don't mean anything, you know.
Well, you do,
politically.
obviously. You represent a lot. So let me ask you, I guess you must be worried even about that because you were in China a couple of years ago. You dedicated one of your concerts to the great artist and activist Ai Weiwei. Again, we've had him on our program and he's a remarkable fellow. But then afterwards, people were questioned, you know, I think you were
my tour,
told where to go.
My tour manager was detained for 3 hours during the show. I was kept for like 15 minutes in my car. I honestly didn't realise the effect. I mean, I've been a friend. I bought his art. What he's done in China is incredible. I didn't really think about it, but I'm so glad I did. I would never go back and say I regret saying that.
But it's a difficult balance,
He needed to be proud, yeah. And I want to do some AIDS work in China. So if they have blacklisted me, and they probably have, I have much more work to do there with the AIDS epidemic. It's so bubbling under the surface there. It's a time bomb.